a pretty large primate comes out to play. Here's a look at the Hiya toys. Godzilla vs. Kong. Exquisite Basic Kong. Unleash the primal strength of Kong as he enters Hollow Earth and waves his battle axe to challenge Godzilla for the title of the King of the Monsters. This Kong figure from Godzilla vs. Kong movie stands 6 inches tall and features 16 points of articulation, as well as a bone battle axe, interchangeable heads, and interchangeable hands. Just before I collect my thoughts on Kong, I'd like to thank the folks over at Hiya Toys that did provide this sample, yes, of the Godzilla vs. Kong Exquisite Basic Kong. And we can have a look at this video. We're going to start first things by grabbing the tape measure just to see how tall the figure stands. And taking it right to the very top of Kong's head, the figure stands exactly, yes, 6 inches in height, or the figure's 15 centimeters tall. And for those curious as to how tall Kong is next to Godzilla, let's slide over the Kong that we're about to have a look at, bring in the Godzilla that we've already had a look at. Now, for the sizing comparisons, I thought it would be better suited to actually have Godzilla on his 2 legs instead of actually having him leaning forward. Generally, when it comes to having this guy here displayed on my shelf, I have actually done pretty good to balance this guy, as I did in the review, where he's standing only on his legs, not necessarily resting on his tail. But for, again, the purpose of displaying these, you can see that Godzilla is still taller than Kong, as it would have also been the case in the movie as well. Looking at the accessories that come included with King Kong, the figure has 4 pairs of interchangeable hands. That's a lot. Figure comes also included with 3 interchangeable heads. That's also a lot. Figure also comes included with his battle axe that he wields in the movie. Why don't we, in fact, start with that first? The axe itself has been made by a bone. You can see it does have, like in the film, the spike on the end that he uses to battle against King Kong. Some nice rope is also added in there as well, painted very nicely and accurately to rope. I do like the way they've actually painted as well the spike. I'm guessing it looks like it's been painted with blue over top of the molded gray plastic, as the blue really gives the chance to pop on the blade on the end of the axe here. Now, the axe actually is sectional. First of all, you can see the discoloration for the bone itself, but you actually detach it. You detach it just below the rope area. This is easier, certainly, when it comes to him wheeling in his hands. All you have to simply do is just take the hand that he's going to have holding it, just fit this on the underside of his hand, and then meet it the other side on the other side, and just connect the two together. Instead of actually having to fight and feed the hand or feed the axe through the hand, it certainly makes things a lot easier. The thing about it, though, is you want to make sure, of course, enough of the bone sticks up, because if you have it too far down, the rope obviously is going to get in the way and it's not going to completely attach. Do I have it going the right way? I want to make sure I've got it going the right way. Just twist this around. And then, of course, you can always feed it back down if you want to have it a little bit lower to his grip. This can, of course, fit into either one of the, well, I don't want to say either one. Obviously, it's going to only go to this side based on where I've got the thumb placement. But again, you've also got a gripping hand that's going to also go on this side of Kong's body. Put those to the side. The figure also comes included with closed fists. And normally, I would be one to say that closed fists are a little more boring. But in a case, though, of King Kong who's always pounding his chest, closed fists certainly do fit the bill rather nicely. I'm not going to dismiss these at all. The figure also comes included with his knuckles, the knuckle hands that he actually can walk on. Not as successful, unfortunately, here when it comes to this figure, because the way they've designed the arms, there's only so much articulation that you can actually perform here. Yeah, you can bring his head up, but you can't bring his legs far enough forward where the hands are going to be dragging onto the ground. This is as far as you can actually get them. And even when you do change out the hands, it's not nearly enough to actually be able to accommodate it. What you can do instead, though, is that you can twist his torso where you have one hand actually sitting against the surface, and then the other hand could be up like this. And that's one way to kind of work around the idea. Let me just show you exactly what's going on here. Let's just pop the hand off the ball joint. If you're having, by the way, any problems to remove the ball joints, you can also submerge this in hot water. That might help just to free the joints just a little bit. And then take the appropriate hand with thumbsies still going in. Doesn't matter whether you're a giant ape or human. It's all going to work the same way. But again, when you got the hands like this, again, you can only really have one hand technically touching the ground and the other hand up. There's just no way you can really bring down both arms because there's just not enough allotted space here, at least joint-wise on the shoulders. I did also want to show you guys what he looked like with the axe. Let's just go ahead and remove then the other hand. And again, just remove that from the ball joint. Plug then in the new hand. And again, if you have any problems with these, I already indicated in this review, I know, but I'm going to mention it again. Obviously, just heat the hand in hot water, and it does the job rather nicely. And that's what he looks like with the axe in his hand. That's for right now, at least. Remove that. The one other thing the figure comes included with is some relaxed hands, too. So if that's one way you want to display the figure, you can certainly go that option as well. Let's just make sure I've got the right hand going here. Just plug that into place. And then as for the other things that come included with Kong, this may involve me actually putting down the figure here for one moment. The figure comes included with some swappable heads. Now, he does have a defaulted head, which just all on its own, without even having any expression to speak of, it's actually a fantastic looking head sculpt. I love the way they've colored the eyes. Slightly just a lighter color being used here for both the nose and the mouth below. And then, of course, you got the darker coloring of the fur. A few little lighter traces also added to the ears, but it's just such a stellar looking head sculpt. Now, when it comes to certainly displaying him, simply just remove, by the way, but I guess before we remove things, one other head he does also come included with is one that definitely does have a more ticked off looking Kong, as he now has some visible teeth, a sunken brow, and definitely angry on his face. You can almost have a harder, well, you do have a harder time to see his eyes. The eyes are a little bit more squinted than the defaulted head sculpt here. They do attach the exact same way, so all you really have to do is just remove the head from the ball joint, find the head then you'd want to use, and just plug it back into. Now, I did notice that the socket seems slightly smaller than the ball joint, so it may involve just a little bit of pressure to get that actually onto the shoulders. To see where we've left from and to see where we've gone to, this was the angry head sculpt. Again, we've got the neutral head sculpt right here, which again, both are strong contenders for displaying the figure. But if you prefer to have Kong taking that one step further and now screaming, there's also this head sculpt too. Now, for me, when it comes to displaying him with Godzilla, I lean more, I think, to the idea of displaying him with this head sculpt. I just love this screaming expression they've given. It also gives an opportunity for Hiya to really showcase their paint skills. Not only the coloring of the tongue that they painted inside, somewhat matching pink to the gums, and an off-colored yellow for the tops and the bottoms of his teeth. They've actually even painted inside, underneath. I mean, that's a touch of detail. Look at the discoloration for the teeth. It's incredible the fact that they'd be able to pull that off. And again, just to remove the head, we're going to go pop that off the ball joint. We're running the gambit, it seems, when it comes to changing things out here on Kong. And just, again, a little bit of pressure applied that on. And there you got Kong with a more angrier expression on his face. To spin the figure around so you can see what's going on all the way around here. Again, you've got some really nice looking sculpting for the fur that they've added here. It's not all either the same color also. It looks like, once again, we've got a darker color of plastic being used here, and then they've lightened the colors of just some of the strands of the hair. So there's a little bit of separation happening here. It's not all being used the same color. Of course, the front of his chest does have these scratches embedded into the plastic and into his skin, and those are a slightly different color, being almost kind of a lighter pink. The coloring of his body mostly is all the same. I do actually like the way they've sculpted the undersides of his feet. The one thing I was worried about when it came to this figure is with his feet not being completely flat was going to cause some problems with Kong actually standing. You know, surprisingly, he stands fine. He doesn't even need a display stand whatsoever either. With a lot of these Exquisite basics too, they don't come with display stands. They're only relying on just their feet alone to allow the figure to stand. And again, despite whatever worries I had with the figure not having completely flat feet, Kong, like I said, stands perfectly fine. For the articulation here on the figure, the head again is on a ball joint, so you can move it back and forth, you can move it up, you can move it down, and again, you can rock it back and forth slightly. Shoulders, for obvious reasons, are going to be a little bit more limited just because he's got such large socketed joints. The shoulders can come out still comfortably, I would say, at 90 degrees. You can take then the arms, you can rotate them all the way around. But it's really by the rotation that you notice where some of the restrictions happen. I mean, again, you can rotate it, but you do feel like you're fighting it along the ways. He does have a swivel at the bicep. The figure also possesses a double hinge on the elbow. I'm glad to see that they were able to do that. Still not, though, enough to be able to drag himself by his knuckles. He can't still pull that off. But again, you can put it on one side of his body and then simply just rotate his body so that one side is on the ground. Maybe I'll do that with final looks. Well, we're certainly on the topic of rotating him. He does have an upper torso ball joint. Very generous of a ball joint, too. You can rotate the body technically all the way around. You have it hinging up and down, and of course all the things in between. And then as for the legs seem to be sitting on ball joints. You can give Kong about splits to about there. Take the legs, move them forward. Take the legs, move them back. There's a slight swivel at the top of the thigh. Double hinge on the knee, a little tighter here on my knees. And then the figure does have articulation both up and down this way, and a nice ankle pivot back and forth. I do really like the look of this Kong quite a bit, even though I did lose, I just dropped his head. Let's just go and pop that back into place. I may even just go back, heat the head just a little bit more with hot water. Let's just see if I can get this popped in all the way. Probably in between takes, I'm going to go and take this to a hot water bath, or maybe even just a hairdryer too. But yes, once again, a really nice looking figure. Does pair rather nicely also with Kong, or also with Godzilla. But it's not even a case where you have to have one if you already have the other. If you're just more of a fan of Godzilla, or you're just more of a fan of King Kong, separately, on their own, they're stellar looking figures to be putting on the shelf. And just to show you here in final looks, it is theoretically possible to at least have King Kong resting against one of the two supplied knuckle hands. To, of course, accommodate this, I had to twist the torso slightly. It does then give one of the arms at least enough of the available reach to touch the ground. You can't do it, unfortunately, with both the arms at the same time, but it does give you a rather effective-looking display of Kong sort of holding himself up, maybe after a blow by Godzilla, ready to then strike him with the battle axe in his other hand. This figure does have a lot going for him, not only an exceptional looking sculpt, equally well painted, but a ton of cool accessories and interchangeable parts. I marvel at the fact that they included as many interchangeable hands that he did have. And normally, again, while I'd be very dismissive towards closed fists would be a perfect thing to go and be displayed with King Kong, as again, you can have him pounding away on his chest. The figure does also have 3 swappable head sculpts. I'm going to settle for right now on displaying the figure with the yelling head sculpt, but I do actually like the other 2 that came included with this figure as well. This one, again, is a great release from the folks over at Hi Toys, going either well to be paired with the Godzilla we looked at before, or even just fine to be displayed on his own. What do you guys think, though, of the Godzilla vs. Kong Exquisite Basic Kong? Let me know down below your thoughts on the figure in the comments section. And once again, I'd like to thank again the folks over at Hi Toys that did provide this sample of Kong, and we can have a look at this review. Speaking of reviews, if you don't mind me asking, if you did enjoy this video, why not hit it with a like? If you're loving the content you guys are seeing and do want to certainly stick around for more, then hit the ever-crucial subscribe button down below and move neighboring over to that destroyed building over there. Just behind that building is a bell notification. If you do turn that on, that'll give you notifications every single time a new video gets posted. Popping up also at the very end of this video, here I go plugging away more. Popping at the very end will be a playlist of other things reviewed for Hiya Toys. If you have a little bit of time on your hands, certainly want to kill a few minutes, a few moments, a few hours, then check out my playlist where I've covered off other Hiya Toys in the past, and all future Hiya Toys reviews will also be showing up in that very same playlist. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.